Think of the last time you were truly angry, not annoyed, angry. The heat climbing up your chest, the words leaving your mouth a half second faster than you could weigh them. The version of you that took the wheel, the one you barely recognized, the one you would give almost anything to take back. Seneca had a name for that version of you. He called it a brief madness, not a metaphor, a clinical observation. He watched emperors destroy their own legacies. He watched fathers disown sons over trivial slights. He watched brilliant men reduce themselves to animals, all because they mistook a feeling for a fact. And then he wrote one of the most remarkable texts in human history, 3 entire books on anger, not to condemn it, to understand it, to offer a cure. Because anger left unchecked does not protect you, it consumes you. And you already know this, because you felt it happen. You know the moment. Someone cuts you off in traffic and suddenly your hands are tight on the wheel and you're speaking words you wouldn't say in front of your mother. Or you read a message, just a few words, and your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, and within seconds you've composed a reply you'll regret by morning. Or it's slower than that. It's the anger that lives underneath, the kind you carry for weeks, months, years, against a parent who never apologized, a partner who made you feel small, a system that chewed you up and never looked back. You don't even call it anger anymore. You call it stress, frustration, being fed up. But the heat is there, and it leaks into everything: your sleep, your patience, your capacity for kindness. Here's what most people get wrong about anger. They think the choice is between expressing it and suppressing it. Let it out or push it down. The Stoics offered a third path: not expression, not suppression, transformation. Seneca argued that anger is not a natural force you must manage. It is a judgment you have made, and judgments can be revised. This matters, because if anger is simply a chemical event in your body, you are helpless. But if anger is a response to a belief, the belief that you have been wronged, that the wrong was deliberate, that punishment is deserved, then you can examine the belief. And when you examine the belief, the anger often dissolves on its own. Seneca's treatise on anger remains one of the most psychologically sophisticated texts ever written. 2,000 years before neuroscience, he mapped the anatomy of rage with astonishing precision. He described 3 stages. First, the involuntary flash, the spike of heat, the rush of adrenaline. This, he said, is not anger. This is a pre-emotion, a bodily reflex. You cannot prevent it any more than you can prevent flinching at a loud noise. Second, the judgment. This is where anger is born. Your mind takes the raw sensation and attaches a story. I have been wronged. This was intentional. This is intolerable. It is at this stage, and only this stage, that you have a choice. Third, the takeover. Once the judgment is accepted, anger floods the system. Reason is overridden. The emotion takes command. And now you are no longer making decisions. Anger is making them for you. The cure, Seneca argued, lives in that second stage. Between the flash and the flood, there is a window. And in that window, you can question the story. Was I truly wronged, or merely inconvenienced? Was the intent malicious, or was I simply not the center of someone else's attention? Does this situation deserve the weight of my full emotional response? Marcus Aurelius practiced this relentlessly. In his private journals, he wrote reminders to himself that read like a man arguing with his own fury. He would tell himself, the person who angered you is also suffering. They act from ignorance, not malice. To be angry at them is like being angry at a fig tree for producing figs. It is simply doing what its nature dictates. This is not naivety. This is strategic empathy. Marcus was not excusing bad behavior. He was refusing to let bad behavior govern his inner state. Musonius Rufus, Epictetus's own teacher, a man who was exiled twice by Roman emperors and survived Nero's tyranny, took it further still. He taught that anger is always a form of protest against reality. When you are angry, you are saying, this should not be happening, but it is happening. And your protest does not change the event. It only destroys your peace. Musonius practiced what he preached. When banished to the desolate island of Gyaros, he did not rage against his fate. He taught philosophy to the fishermen. Modern psychology calls this cognitive reappraisal, the practice of reevaluating a situation to change its emotional impact. Research consistently shows that people who reappraise rather than suppress or vent experience less chronic anger, lower stress hormones, and stronger relationships. The Stoics did not have the terminology, but they had the practice, and the practice works. The first cure is time. Seneca's most practical advice was disarmingly simple. Wait. When you feel anger rising, do nothing. Say nothing. Write nothing. Let the first wave pass. This is not suppression. You are not denying the feeling. You are refusing to act on it while your judgment is compromised. He compared it to a court of law. No just judge delivers a verdict in the heat of the moment. The evidence is gathered. Witnesses are heard. Time is given for reflection. Only then is a decision made. You deserve the same due process from yourself. The next time anger arrives, and it will arrive, give yourself a rule. I do not respond for 24 hours. I write nothing. I say nothing of consequence. I let the fire burn down to embers, and only then do I examine what remains. What you will find, more often than not, is that the anger was a guest, not a resident. It wanted to move through you. You just needed to stop giving it a reason to stay. The second cure is perspective. Marcus Aurelius had a devastating habit. When someone angered him, he would turn the lens on himself. He would ask, have I not done this same thing? Have I not been careless, thoughtless, selfish? Have I not wounded someone without even noticing? The answer invariably was yes. This is not self-flagellation, it is honesty, and it dissolves the self-righteousness that anger requires to survive. Anger always contains a hidden assumption. I would never do that. I am better than this person. I deserve better treatment. But you have done that. Perhaps not in the same way, but in your own way. You have been the person who disappointed someone, who was thoughtless, who caused harm without intending to. When you allow yourself to see this, truly see it, something shifts. The anger doesn't disappear, but it softens. It becomes something more like sadness. And sadness, unlike anger, does not demand destruction. Try this. The next time someone wrongs you, before you react, ask yourself, when have I done something similar? Not to excuse them, but to humanize them, and in doing so, to reclaim your own humanity. The third cure is arithmetic. Seneca asked a question that should be written on every mirror. How much more grievous are the consequences of anger than the causes of it? Think about this honestly. How many relationships have you damaged, not because of what someone did, but because of how you responded? How many words have you spoken in anger that you spent years trying to take back? How many hours have you lost to rumination, to revenge fantasies, to the slow corrosion of resentment? Now weigh that against the original offense, the rude comment, the broken promise, the perceived slight. Was it worth it? Anger tells you it is protecting you, that it is fighting for your dignity, your justice, your worth. But look at the ledger. Look at what it has actually cost you. The Stoics did not oppose anger because they were saints. They opposed it because they were accountants. They could see the balance sheet. And anger, no matter how righteous it felt, always left you poorer than it found you. Here is what most people never reach, because the anger obscures it. Beneath almost every flash of rage, there is a wound. Anger is rarely about the present moment. It is about every moment like this one that came before. The colleague who dismisses your idea, they are not the source of your fury. The source is every time you were made to feel invisible. The partner who breaks a promise, they are triggering something older than themselves, something that learned long ago that promises are what people break. The Stoics arrived at this insight through a clear door. Epictetus taught that our disturbances always reveal our attachments. What angers you tells you what you have not yet freed yourself from. This is not comfortable knowledge, but it is liberating, because it means the cure for anger is not better anger management, it is self-knowledge. 4 practices drawn from the Stoic tradition. First, the delay rule. When anger arrives, commit to a 24-hour moratorium on action. No messages sent, no conversations initiated. Let the wave pass. Second, the reversal. Before you condemn someone's behavior, ask, when have I behaved this way? Let the answer humble you before anger can harden you. Third, the cost accounting. Before you indulge the anger, calculate its price. What will this response cost me in peace, in relationships, in self-respect? Fourth, the root inquiry. When the anger settles, sit with what remains. Ask, what is this really about? What older wound is being touched? Seneca, in the final passage of his treatise, painted a portrait that still arrests the reader. He described the face of an angry man, the flushed skin, the trembling lips, the eyes wild with a fire that destroys its own house. And then he asked, would you choose to look like that? Would you choose to be that? You would not. Anger promises strength, but it delivers weakness dressed in loud clothing. It promises justice, but it delivers only more damage. The Stoic cure is not to become passionless. It is to become sovereign over your passions, so that they serve you rather than command you. You do not need anger to be strong. You need clarity. And clarity begins the moment you stop reacting and start choosing. If this changed something in how you think about anger, subscribe. One tap, that's all. Until next time, be sovereign.